The ship came down through the clouds like a silver knife cutting through white fabric. It was bigger than anything the people of Montana had ever seen. The farmers stopped their work and looked up. The children ran out of their houses to watch. Even the animals seemed to pause and stare at the sky. Princess Valeria stood at the front window of her ship and watched the human world grow larger below her. She had seen many planets in her long life. She had walked on worlds made of ice and worlds made of fire. But Earth was different. Earth was green and blue and full of life. It was messy and wild and beautiful in a way that made her feel strange inside. Her people, the Cathari, did not like messy things. They liked order. They liked rules. They liked everything to be clean and perfect and quiet. Emotions were seen as dirt on a clean floor. Feelings were seen as cracks in a perfect wall. From the day they were born, Cathari children were taught to hide what they felt inside. Valeria turned and looked at her twin daughters. Desha and Kira were sitting in their seats with their hands folded in their laps. Their silver skin glowed softly in the ship's light. Their golden eyes stared straight ahead. They did not smile. They did not frown. Their faces showed nothing at all. They were perfect Cathari children. And for some reason that thought made Valeria feel sad. "We are landing now," Valeria said to them. "Remember what I taught you? Do not show emotion. Do not speak unless spoken to. Do not trust the humans too quickly. They are strange creatures. They laugh and cry and shout. They are ruled by their feelings. We must be careful around them." "Yes, Mother," Desha said. Her voice was flat and calm. "We understand, Mother," Kira added in the same empty tone. The ship touched down on a wide field of grass. Valeria could see a group of humans waiting for them. They were smiling and waving. One of them, a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes, stepped forward as the ship's door opened. "Welcome to Earth," the man said. "I am Ambassador Danny Holloway. We are so happy to have you here." Valeria walked down the ramp with her daughters behind her. The air smelled different here. It smelled like grass and flowers and something sweet that she could not name. Birds were singing in the trees. A warm wind touched her face. It was all so alive. "Thank you, Ambassador Holloway," Valeria said. "I am Princess Valeria of the Cathari Empire. These are my daughters, Desha and Kira. We have come to discuss peace between our peoples." Danny smiled at the two girls. "Hello there. How old are you two?" Desha and Kira looked at their mother. Valeria gave them a small nod. "We are 12 cycles old," Desha said. "That is close to 12 of your Earth years." "Wonderful," Danny said. "My niece Katie is staying with me this summer. She is 12 years old too. Maybe you three can be friends." Valeria felt a small flash of worry. Her daughters had never had friends before. Cathari children did not play together. They studied. They trained. They prepared for the duties they would have as adults. Friendship was seen as a waste of time, but Valeria said nothing. She did not want to seem rude to the humans. Danny led them across the field toward a large building made of wood and glass. It was the diplomatic compound where they would stay during the peace talks. Guards from both sides walked with them. Human soldiers in green uniforms. Cathari warriors in silver armor. As they walked, a young girl came running toward them. She had brown hair tied back in a ponytail and a big smile on her face. She was wearing shorts and a t-shirt with a picture of a cat on it. Her knees were dirty, and there was a leaf stuck in her hair. "Uncle Danny," she shouted. "They are here. The aliens are here." Danny laughed. "Katie, please calm down. We have important guests." Katie stopped in front of Desha and Kira. She looked at them with wide, curious eyes. The twins looked back at her with their blank, empty faces. "Hi," Katie said. "I am Katie. Your skin is so pretty." It looks like silver. Can I touch it? Valaria stepped forward. That would not be proper. My daughters are. But before she could finish, Kira held out her hand. Katie reached out and touched her fingers gently. Wow, Katie whispered. It is so smooth. Like metal, but warm. That is so cool. Something flickered in Kira's eyes. It was small. It was quick. But Valaria saw it. For just 1 second, her daughter had felt something. The first day passed slowly. There were meetings and speeches and many boring talks about trade and borders and rules. Valaria sat at a long table with human leaders and talked for hours. Her daughter sat in a corner of the room, quiet and still, like 2 silver statues. But Valaria noticed that Katie kept looking at them through the window. The human girl was outside, sitting on the grass, making something with sticks and string. Every few minutes, she would wave at Desha and Kira. The twins did not wave back. But they watched her. They watched her very closely. When evening came, Valaria took her daughters to their room in the compound. It was a nice room with soft beds and large windows that looked out at the mountains. You did well today, Valaria told them. You were quiet and proper. I am proud of you. Thank you, Mother, they said together. Valaria looked at them for a long moment. That human girl, Katie, stay away from her. She is too wild, too emotional. She could be a bad influence on you. Desha and Kira nodded. But Valaria saw something in their eyes that she had never seen before. It looked almost like disappointment. The next morning, Valaria woke up to the sound of someone knocking on her door. It was one of her guards, a tall warrior named Voss. Princess, he said, his voice tight with worry. We have a problem. Valaria felt her heart beat faster. What is it? Your daughters. They are not in their room. Valaria pushed past him and ran down the hall. She threw open the door to her daughter's room. The beds were empty. The window was open. A warm morning breeze blew the curtains into the room. Her daughters were gone. Valaria felt something she had not felt in many years. It was cold and sharp and it filled her whole body. It was fear. Real, true fear. Find them, she said to Voss. Search everywhere, now. The guards spread out across the compound. They searched every building. They looked in every room. They checked every corner and every shadow. But there was no sign of the twins. Ambassador Danny came running when he heard the news. His face was pale and worried. Princess Valaria, I am so sorry. We will find them. I promise you, we will find them. How could this happen? Valaria demanded. We are on your world, under your protection, and my children have vanished. Danny shook his head. I do not know, but we will not stop until we find them. As the adults argued and worried, a small voice spoke up from behind them. Excuse me? Everyone turned. Katie was standing there in her pajamas, rubbing sleep from her eyes. I think I might know where they are, she said. Valaria stepped toward her. Tell me, now. Katie looked a little scared, but she stood her ground. Yesterday, I asked them if they wanted to come see my camping tent. I set it up in the meadow behind the compound. They said no, but they looked really interested. Maybe they went there? Valaria stared at the human girl. A camping tent. Her daughters, the future leaders of the Kethari Empire, had possibly run away to sit in a tent with a human child. It was ridiculous. It was improper. It was the strangest thing Valaria had ever heard, but it was also their only lead. Take me there, Valaria said. Take me there right now. Katie nodded and led the way. The search party followed her through the tall grass, toward whatever waited for them in the meadow beyond. The morning sun was warm on Valaria's silver skin as she followed Katie through the tall grass. The meadow stretched out before them like a green ocean. Flowers of every color dotted the landscape. Bees buzzed from plant to plant. Butterflies danced in the air. It was all so alive. So wild. So different from the cold, clean ships and buildings of the Kethari homeworld. Behind Valaria walked Ambassador Danny and a group of guards. The Kethari warriors moved in silence, their hands on their weapons. The human soldiers talked quietly among themselves. Everyone was tense. Everyone was worried. But Katie walked ahead of them all with a bounce in her step. She did not seem worried at all. She hummed a little song as she pushed through the grass. Her bare feet were wet with morning dew. How much further? Valaria asked. Her voice was sharp with impatience. Not far, Katie said. Just over that little hill there. I set up my tent near the big oak tree. It is the best spot. You can see the stars really well at night. Valaria did not care about stars. She cared about finding her daughters. Her mind was filled with dark thoughts. What if they were hurt? What if something had taken them? What if this was all some kind of trap? The Kethari had many enemies across the galaxy. There were those who would love to capture the children of a princess. There were those who would use them as hostages. Or worse. Arya walked faster. Her long silver robes dragged through the grass behind her. They climbed the small hill. And then they stopped. There, at the bottom of the slope, stood a small orange tent. It was nothing special. Just a simple camping tent made of cloth and poles. It looked old and worn. One side was patched with tape, but that was not what made everyone stop and stare. It was the sound coming from inside the tent. Laughter. Not just any laughter. High, bright, musical laughter. The kind of laughter that bubbles up from deep inside and cannot be stopped. The kind of laughter that makes everyone around want to laugh too. And the voices making that sound were not human. Valaria knew those voices. She had heard them every day for 12 years. They belonged to her daughters. But she had never, not once in all that time, heard them laugh like this. Kethari children did not laugh. It was not allowed. It was not proper. Laughter was seen as a loss of control, a sign of weakness, a crack in the perfect mask that all Kethari were supposed to wear. But there was no mistaking what she was hearing now. Desha and Kira were laughing. Really, truly laughing. The guards looked at each other in confusion. Even Voss, who had served Valaria for 20 years, seemed shocked. He had never heard such a sound from Kethari children. What is happening? One of the warriors whispered. Are they in pain? Is something wrong with them? No, Valaria said softly. They are happy. She walked down the hill alone. The others stayed back at her signal. Her heart was beating fast. Her hands were shaking slightly. She did not understand what she was feeling. As she got closer to the tent, she could hear voices between the laughs. And then what happened? That was Desha's voice. It sounded lighter than usual, younger, free. Then the frog jumped right into my mom's coffee cup. That was Katie, speaking in her loud, cheerful way. She screamed so loud the neighbors came running. They thought someone was being attacked. More laughter. This time it was Kira, laughing so hard she could barely breathe. That is the funniest thing I have ever heard, Kira said. Why do these small animals cause so much trouble? Because they are frogs, Katie said. That is just what frogs do. They go wherever they want. They do not care about rules. I wish I could be like a frog, Desha said quietly. Just going wherever I want, not caring about rules. Valaria stopped outside the tent. She did not want to interrupt. Part of her wanted to tear open the tent and demand to know what was going on. But another part of her, a part she did not know existed, wanted to stay hidden and listen. You have so many rules? Katie asked. So many, Kira said. We have rules about how to walk, how to sit, how to eat, How to speak. We have rules about our faces. Rules about your faces? We are not allowed to show what we feel, Desha explained. If we are happy, we cannot smile. If we are sad, we cannot cry. If we are angry, we cannot frown. Our faces must always be calm and empty. There was a long pause. Then Katie spoke again. That sounds really hard. It is, Desha said. It is very hard. Sometimes I feel so much inside, but I have to push it all down. I have to hide it. I have to pretend it is not there. But why? Katie asked. Feelings are not bad. Everyone has feelings. Our people believe that feelings make you weak, Kira said. They say that if you show emotion, your enemies can use it against you. They can find your weakness and hurt you. Katie was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that made Valaria's breath catch in her throat. I think your people are wrong. Valaria waited for her daughters to defend the Kethari ways, to explain why their traditions were right, to tell this human girl that she did not understand. But they said nothing. Feelings are not weakness, Katie continued. Feelings are what make us strong. When I love someone, I want to protect them. When I am angry about something unfair, I want to fix it. When I am sad, my friends come to help me feel better. Feelings connect us to other people. That is the strongest thing in the whole universe. Silence inside the tent. Then Desha spoke. Her voice was barely above a whisper. No one has ever told us that before. Valaria felt something wet on her face. She reached up and touched her cheek. It was a tear. She was crying. She, Princess Valaria of the Kethari Empire, was crying over the words of a 12-year-old human child. She did not know what to do. She did not know what to feel. Everything she had been taught, everything she had believed, everything she had taught her own children, was being questioned by a girl in a patched-up tent. She took a deep breath. Then she reached out and pulled back the tent flap. 3 faces turned to look at her. Desha and Kira were sitting on colorful sleeping bags. Their silver hair was messy. Their golden eyes were wide. And on their faces, for the first time in their lives, Valaria could see real emotion, surprise, fear, and something else. Something that looked almost like hope. Katie sat between them. She had a flashlight in her lap and a bag of something puffy and white next to her. There were craft supplies scattered everywhere. Scissors and paper and string. And on the wrists of all 3 girls, Valaria saw matching bracelets made of purple and gold thread. Mother, Kira said. Her voice trembled. We can explain. Valaria looked at her daughters. She looked at the tent around them. She looked at the mess and the crafts and the evidence of hours, spent laughing and talking and being children. She should be angry. She should punish them for running away. She should lecture them about duty and tradition and proper behavior. But she did not do any of those things. Instead, she stepped into the tent and sat down on the sleeping bag next to Desha. The fabric was soft under her hands. It smelled like grass and fresh air. Tell me, Valaria said quietly. Tell me everything. Katie looked nervous. Are you going to be mad at us? We did not mean any harm. I just thought they looked lonely, and I wanted to show them what a sleepover is like. A sleepover? Valaria asked. It is when friends stay up late together, Katie explained. You tell stories and share secrets and eat snacks and make things together. It is one of the best parts of being a kid. Valaria looked at her daughters. Is that what you have been doing? Having a sleepover? Desha nodded slowly. Katie invited us last night. At first we said no. But after you went to sleep, we could not stop thinking about it. We wanted to know what it was like. We wanted to try being normal children. Just for one night. So we snuck out, Kira added. We climbed out the window and came here. And Katie was waiting for us. She taught us so many things, Mother. She taught us games and songs. She told us stories about her life. She showed us how to make these bracelets. Kira held up her wrist. The purple and gold threads were woven together in a simple but beautiful pattern. She called it a friendship bracelet, Desha said. She said that when you make them with someone, it means you are friends forever, no matter how far apart you are. Valeria reached out and touched the bracelet on Desha's wrist. The threads were soft under her fingers. Such a simple thing. Such a small thing. But it meant so much to her daughters. Friends forever, Valeria repeated. Yes, Katie said. She held up her own wrist, showing the same bracelet. We made a promise. The three of us. We are going to be friends, no matter what. Even after you go back to your planet. Even if we never see each other again. We will always be friends. Valeria looked at the human girl. This small, messy, emotional creature had done something in one night that Valeria had failed to do in 12 years. She had made her daughters happy. Thank you, Valeria said. The words felt strange in her mouth. Cathari did not often say thank you. But somehow, it felt right. Katie smiled. You are welcome. Do you want a marshmallow? They are really good. She held out the bag of white puffy things. Valeria had no idea what a marshmallow was. But she reached in and took one anyway. Outside the tent, Ambassador Danny and the guards waited. They did not know what was happening inside. They did not know that everything was about to change. But Valeria knew. She could feel it in her bones. Something had started here. Something important. Something that could not be stopped. Ambassador Danny walked beside Princess Valeria as they made their way back to the diplomatic compound. The guards followed at a respectful distance. The morning sun was climbing higher in the sky, and the air was growing warmer. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Danny could see that something had changed in the alien princess. Her face was softer somehow. Her shoulders were not as stiff. She looked almost human. Your niece, Valeria finally said, is a remarkable child. Danny smiled. She gets that from her mother. My sister has always been good at connecting with people. Katie inherited that gift. Gift, Valeria repeated. Yes, I think that is the right word. What Katie does is a gift. She makes people feel safe enough to be themselves. She has that effect, Danny agreed. Even when she was little, she could walk up to anyone and make them smile. Strangers, angry people, sad people. She just has this light inside her. Valeria nodded slowly. My people do not have words for what she has. We do not value such things. We value strength and intelligence and control. But we do not value kindness for its own sake. We do not value the ability to make others happy. Maybe you should, Danny said carefully. He did not want to offend the princess, but he felt it was important to be honest. Valeria stopped walking. She turned to face him. Her golden eyes were thoughtful. You are right, she said. We should. We have built an empire that stretches across 1,000 worlds. We have conquered enemies and gathered resources beyond measure. But we have never stopped to ask ourselves if we are happy. We have never wondered if there might be more to life than power and control. Danny was surprised by her openness. He had met many alien diplomats over the years. Most of them were cold and calculating, always looking for an advantage. Valeria was different. She was willing to admit weakness. She was willing to learn. Can I ask you something? Danny said, Of course. What made you bring your daughters to Earth? I know this is a diplomatic mission, but you could have come alone. You could have left them safe at home. Why bring them to a strange planet so far from everything they know? Valeria was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft. I wanted them to see something different. I wanted them to know that there are other ways to live. I have ruled my people for many years, and in that time, I have watched countless children grow up empty and sad. They become perfect HFY, but they lose something along the way. Something important. I did not want that from my daughters. You wanted them to have a choice, Danny said. Yes, I wanted them to see that emotions are not weakness. That joy is not a flaw. That connection with others is not dangerous. I wanted them to choose who they want to be, not just become what they are expected to be. Danny felt a deep respect for the alien princess. She was not just a ruler. She was a mother trying to do the best for her children. That was something he understood. I think you are a good mother, he said. Valeria made a sound that might have been a laugh. My advisors would disagree. They think I am too soft, too sentimental. They worry that my daughters will grow up weak. Being soft is not the same as being weak, Danny said. Some of the strongest people I know are also the kindest. It takes courage to be gentle in a hard world. Valeria looked at him with new eyes. You are wise, Ambassador Holloway. Your people have much to teach us. And yours have much to teach us as well, Danny replied. That is why we are here, is it not? To learn from each other. They continued walking toward the compound. The tall building rose up before them, its windows glinting in the sunlight. The peace talks resume this afternoon, Danny said. Will you be ready? I will be there, Valeria said. But I will be different than before. I have learned something today that changes how I see everything. I do not know yet what it means for the negotiations. But I know that I cannot go back to being who I was. Danny nodded. Change is never easy, but it is often necessary. They entered the compound and went to the main meeting hall. The other diplomats were already gathering. Tethari officials in their silver robes. Human leaders in their suits and uniforms. Everyone looking important and serious. Valeria took her seat at the head of the long table. She looked around at all the faces watching her. They expected her to be cold and formal. They expected her to argue and negotiate and fight for every advantage. Instead, she did something unexpected. Before we begin, she said, I want to share something with all of you. This morning, I found my daughters in a tent in the meadow. They had spent the night there with a human child named Katie. They were laughing and playing games and sharing secrets. The Gadari officials looked uncomfortable. This was not proper diplomatic behavior. Personal matters were not discussed in formal settings, but Valeria continued. For the first time in their lives, my daughters were truly happy. Not pretending to be happy, not hiding their feelings behind masks, but actually genuinely happy. And it happened because a human child showed them kindness without expecting anything in return. The room was silent. Everyone was listening. We Cathari have always believed that emotions are weakness, Valeria said. We have built our entire civilization on the idea that feelings must be controlled and hidden. But today I saw what happens when that control is released. I saw my daughters become full and alive. I saw them become who they were always meant to be. She paused and looked directly at the human leaders across the table. I came here to negotiate trade agreements and border treaties. I came here to gain advantages for my empire. But I have learned something far more valuable than any resource or territory. I have learned that humanity's greatest strength is not your technology or your numbers. It is your ability to feel, your ability to connect, your ability to love openly and without shame. The human leaders exchanged glances. They had not expected this. I propose a new kind of partnership, Valeria continued. Not just trade and treaties, but true exchange. I want Cathari children to visit Earth and learn from human families. I want human teachers to come to our worlds and show us what we have forgotten. I want our peoples to share not just resources, but wisdom. One of the Cathari officials spoke up. His name was Draven, and he was known for being traditional and strict. Princess, this is highly irregular. Such proposals have never been considered. Our ways have served us for thousands of years. Why should we change now? Velaria turned to face him. Because our ways have also made us cold and empty for thousands of years. We have conquered worlds, but never found peace. We've gathered power but never found joy. We have survived, Draven, but we have not truly lived. Draven fell silent. He had no argument against her words. Ambassador Danny spoke up. On behalf of the human delegation, I welcome this proposal. We've always believed that true peace comes from understanding, not just agreements. If we can learn from each other at the deepest level, our partnership will be unbreakable. Velaria smiled. It was still strange to see a Kethari smile, but it was becoming less strange by the minute. Then let us begin a new chapter, she said. Not as competitors or cautious allies, but as friends. Real friends. The kind who share secrets and trust each other completely. The afternoon passed quickly. The diplomats talked and planned and drafted new agreements. But the atmosphere was different than before. There was warmth in the room. There was hope. When the sun began to set, Velaria left the meeting hall and walked back toward the meadow. She wanted to see her daughters. She wanted to hear about their day. As she crested the small hill, she saw the orange tent glowing in the evening light. She could hear voices inside. 3 girls talking and laughing. She stood there for a long moment, just listening, just enjoying the sound of happiness. Then she walked down the hill to join them. The world was changing. The galaxy was changing. And it had all started with a tent, 3 girls, and the simple act of sharing secrets. Velaria did not know what the future would hold. But for the first time in her long life, she was excited to find out. The inside of the tent was warm and cozy. Sunlight came through the orange fabric and made everything glow like fire. Velaria sat with her legs crossed, feeling strange and out of place, but not wanting to leave. Katie was explaining the rules of something called truth or dare. It seemed to be a game where you had to either answer a question honestly or do something silly that your friends asked you to do. The most important rule, Katie said very seriously, is that you have to tell the truth. You cannot lie during truth or dare. It is against the rules of the universe. The universe has rules about games? Kira asked. Well, maybe not the whole universe, Katie admitted. But it is a very important rule for friends. Friends do not lie to each other. Ever. That is how trust works. Velaria listened carefully. Among the Kethari, lying was an art form. Diplomats were trained to twist words and hide meanings. Children were taught that truth was a weapon to be used carefully. The idea that friends should never lie to each other was strange and new. Can we play? Desha asked. Her golden eyes were bright with excitement. Of course, Katie said. That is why I am explaining the rules. Your mom can play too, if she wants. Both twins turned to look at their mother. Their faces showed hope and nervousness at the same time. Velaria could see that they wanted her to say yes. They wanted her to be part of this strange human ritual. Velaria thought about what she should do. The proper thing would be to refuse. The proper thing would be to take her daughters back to the compound and pretend this never happened. The proper thing would be to punish them for breaking the rules. But the proper thing had kept her daughters silent and sad for 12 years. I will play, Velaria said. Katie clapped her hands together. Great. Okay, I will go first. Desha, truth or dare? Desha thought about it for a moment. Truth. Okay, what is the thing you want most in the whole galaxy? Desha was quiet for a long time. Velaria could see her daughter struggling with the question. She was not used to talking about what she wanted. She was used to doing what she was told. Finally, Desha spoke. I want to be ordinary. Katie tilted her head. Ordinary? But you are a princess. You are special. That is the problem, Desha said. I do not want to be special. I do not want to be a princess. I do not want people to bow to me and fear me and expect great things from me. I just want to be a normal girl. I want to play in the grass and get dirty and laugh at stupid jokes. I want to have friends who like me because of me, not because of my title. Valeria felt like someone had reached into her chest and squeezed her heart. She had never known her daughter felt this way. She had never thought to ask. I think you can be ordinary and special at the same time, Katie said thoughtfully. You do not have to choose. You can be a princess who plays in the grass and laughs at stupid jokes. There is no rule against it. There is in our society, Kira said quietly. Then maybe your society needs new rules, Katie replied. The words hung in the air. Valeria expected to feel angry at the human girl for criticizing the Kethari way of life. But she did not feel angry. She felt something else. Something that felt almost like agreement. Your turn, Desha, Katie said. Ask someone. Desha looked at her mother. Mother, truth or dare? Valeria had not expected to be chosen. She sat up straighter. Truth, do you love us? The question hit Valeria like a physical blow. Of course, she loved her daughters. How could Desha even ask such a thing? But then Valeria thought about it more. When was the last time she had told them? When was the last time she had shown them? She gave them food and shelter and education. She made sure they had the best teachers and the finest clothes. But had she ever just held them close and told them how much they meant to her? The Kethari did not believe in such displays of affection. Love was understood but never spoken. Feelings were felt but never shown. But the rules of truth or dare said she had to be honest. Yes, Valeria said. Her voice cracked slightly. I love you both more than anything in the universe. More than my title. More than my empire. More than my own life. I would burn down the stars themselves if it meant keeping you safe. Desha and Kira stared at their mother. Their golden eyes were wide and wet. They had never heard her speak like this before. They had never known that so much feeling existed beneath her cold, calm mask. Then why do you never tell us? Kira whispered. Valeria felt tears forming in her eyes again. This was the second time she had cried in one day. She had not cried in over 50 years before this morning. Because I was taught that it would make me weak, she said. I was taught that showing love gives others power over you. If your enemies know you love something, they can threaten it to control you. So we hide our love. We bury it deep inside where no one can see it. That is so sad, Katie said. Her voice was soft and full of feeling. Love is not supposed to be hidden. Love is supposed to be shared. When you tell someone you love them, it makes both of you stronger, not weaker. Valeria looked at the human girl. This child, this simple creature from a simple world, understood something that the ancient Kethari civilization had forgotten long ago. You are very wise for someone so young, Valeria said. Katie shrugged. My mom tells me that she loves me every single day. She says it when I wake up. She says it when I go to school. She says it when I go to bed. At first, I thought it was annoying. But then I realized that it makes me feel safe. No matter what bad things happen, I know that my mom loves me. And that makes everything easier to handle. Valeria turned to her daughters. She reached out and took their hands in hers. Their silver skin was warm against her palms. I love you, she said. The words felt strange coming out of her mouth. They felt too big for such small sounds. But she said them anyway. I love you, Desha. I love you, Kira. I'm sorry I never told you before. I'm sorry I made you think you had to hide who you really are. Desha and Kira looked at each other. Then they both moved forward and wrapped their arms around their mother. It was the first time they had hugged in years. HFY did not hug. But in that small orange tent, in a meadow on a strange planet far from home, the three of them held each other tight. Katie sat back and watched them with a smile on her face. She did not say anything. She did not need to dot after a long moment. They pulled apart. Valeria wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. Her daughters did the same. "This game is very strange," Valeria said. "But I think I understand why humans like it. It helps you say things you are afraid to say," Katie explained. "Sometimes we need a reason to be honest. The game gives us that reason." "We have nothing like this among our people," Kira said. "We are taught to keep secrets, not share them." "Everyone has secrets," Katie said. "But you do not have to carry them alone. That is what friends are for. Friends help you carry the heavy stuff." Valeria thought about all the secrets she carried. Secrets about her own childhood. Secrets about her fears and hopes and dreams. Secrets she had never told anyone, not even her closest advisors. Maybe it was time to let some of those secrets out. "Can we keep playing?" Desha asked. "I want to learn more." "Of course," Katie said. "We can play all day if you want. We can play all week. I have so many games to show you." Valeria looked at her daughters' faces. For the first time in their lives, they looked truly happy. Their golden eyes were shining. Their silver lips were curved into real smiles. They looked like children. Normal, ordinary, happy children. This was what she had always wanted for them. She just had not known it until now. "I must return to the compound," Valeria said. "The peace talks cannot wait. But I want you two to stay here with Katie. Spend the day together. Play games. Share secrets. Be children." Desha and Kira looked shocked. "Really, Mother? You will allow this?" Valeria nodded. "Yes, but I have one condition." "What is it?" Kira asked. Valeria smiled. It felt strange on her face, like a muscle she had forgotten how to use. But it also felt good. "Tonight at dinner, I want you to tell me about everything you did today. Every game. Every secret. Every laugh. I want to hear it all. Can you do that for me?" The twins nodded eagerly. "We promise, Mother," Desha said. "We will tell you everything," Kira added. Valeria stood up. She had to bend low to fit in the small tent. She looked down at the three girls, so different from each other but somehow connected. "Take care of my daughters," she said to Katie. "They are precious to me." Katie gave her a serious nod. "I will protect them with my life." It was a silly thing to say. A dramatic thing. The kind of thing a child would say. But somehow, Valeria believed her. She stepped out of the tent and into the bright morning sunshine. Ambassador Danny was waiting for her, his face full of questions. The guards stood ready to move. But Valeria was not the same woman who had walked into that tent. Something had changed inside her. Something important. She had found her daughters in the tent, sharing secrets with a human dot, and in the process, she had found something she did not even know she was looking for. She had found hope. 3 weeks passed quickly. The peace talks continued every day, but they were no longer cold and formal. The Cathari and human diplomats had learned to talk to each other like real people. They shared meals together. They told stories about their homes and families. They even laughed at jokes, which was something the Cathari had not done in centuries. But the biggest changes were happening in the orange tent in the meadow. Every evening, Princess Valeria would let her daughters spend time with Katie. Sometimes Valeria would join them. Sometimes she would stand on the hill and watch from a distance. Either way, she could see the transformation happening before her eyes. Desha was learning to draw. Katie had given her a notebook and some colored pencils. And now Desha spent hours creating pictures of flowers and animals and faraway worlds. Her drawings were beautiful and full of emotion. Each one told a story. Kira was learning to tell jokes. She had a natural talent for comedy that no one had ever discovered before. She would make up silly stories in funny voices, and Katie and Desha would laugh until their sides hurt, and both twins were learning the most important lesson of all. They were learning how to be themselves. The night before the Kethari were scheduled to leave Earth, Katie organized one final sleepover. It would be bigger than the others. Valeria was invited. Ambassador Danny was invited. Even some of the guards were invited. The single orange tent was replaced with 3 larger tents set up in a circle. Blankets and pillows covered the grass between them. A small fire crackled in the center, and marshmallows were roasting on sticks. The 3 girls sat together near the fire. They were wearing matching pajamas that Katie had bought at a store in town. The Gathari guards looked confused by their princess's daughters wearing human clothing, but they said nothing. Valeria sat on a blanket nearby, watching everything with soft eyes. She had changed so much in 3 weeks. She smiled more now. She laughed more now. She even cried sometimes when something touched her heart. Her advisors back home would have been shocked. But Valeria did not care what they thought anymore. "I do not want you to go," Katie said suddenly. Her voice was thick with sadness. Desha put her arm around her friend. "We do not want to go either. But we have to. Our people need us. But we will come back," Kira added quickly. "Mother promised. She said we can visit Earth every year. And maybe you can come visit our planet too." Katie brightened a little. "Really? I can come see your world?" Valeria spoke up. "Yes, it is part of the new agreement we signed today. There will be an exchange program for young people from both worlds. You would be welcome as a guest of the royal family." Katie jumped up and ran to Valeria. She threw her arms around the alien princess and hugged her tight. Valeria stiffened for just a moment, then relaxed and hugged her back. "Thank you," Katie whispered. "Thank you for letting me be friends with Desha and Kira. They are the best friends I have ever had." "Thank you for being their friend," Valeria replied. "You have given them something I could never give them. You have given them permission to be happy." Ambassador Danny sat down next to Valeria as Katie ran back to join the twins. "This has been an interesting 3 weeks," he said. Valeria nodded. "Interesting is one word for it. Life-changing is another. What will happen when you return home? Will your people accept these new ideas?" Valeria thought about the question carefully. "Some will resist. Change is always frightening, especially for those who have held power for a long time. But the younger generation is curious. They have heard about what happened here. They want to learn more. Revolution takes time," Danny said. "This is not a revolution," Valeria replied. "It is an awakening. My people have been asleep for thousands of years. We forgot how to feel. We forgot how to live. But thanks to 3 weeks in a tent with your niece, we are beginning to remember." They watched the 3 girls roast marshmallows and tell stories. The fire crackled and popped. Stars began to appear in the darkening sky. "I have a gift for Katie," Valeria said. She reached into her robe and pulled out a small silver box. "What is it?" "It is a communication device. Our most advanced technology. With this, Katie can speak to Desha and Kira anytime she wants. The signal travels through subspace. Distance does not matter. They could be on opposite sides of the galaxy and still hear each other's voices." Danny's eyes widened. "That is incredibly generous. Are you sure you want to give such valuable technology to a 12-year-old girl?" Valeria smiled. "Katie taught my daughters the value of friendship. This is the least I can do in return. Besides, I have learned that humans are very good at taking care of the things they love." Later that night, when the marshmallows were gone and the fire was burning low, The three girls lay on their blankets and looked up at the stars. "Which one is your planet?" Katie asked. Kira pointed to a dim star near the horizon. "That one. You cannot see it clearly from here, but it is there. Our home. It looks so far away." "It is far away," Desha said. "But distance does not matter anymore. Not for friends like us." Valeria called the girls together. She presented the silver box to Katie and explained how it worked. Katie held the device like it was the most precious thing in the universe. Because to her, it was. "I will call you every day," she promised. "I will tell you about school and my friends and my cat. And you have to tell me about your planet and your lessons and everything else." "We promise," Desha and Kira said together. The three girls hugged each other tight. They stayed like that for a long time, not wanting to let go. The next morning, the Cathari ship powered up for departure. The whole delegation gathered in the meadow to say goodbye. Humans and aliens stood together, some of them crying, all of them changed by the experience. Desha and Kira hugged Katie one last time. "Do not forget us," Kira whispered. "Never," Katie replied. "Not in a million years. Not in a billion years. Not ever." Princess Valeria bowed to Ambassador Danny. It was the deepest bow of respect that a Cathari royal could give. "You have honored us with your hospitality," she said. "But more than that, you have shown us a better way to live. My people owe humanity a debt that can never be repaid." Danny shook his head. "There is no debt between friends. We helped you because that is what friends do." Valeria smiled. A real, warm, human smile. "Then let us be friends," she said. "Let us be friends for a very long time." The silver ship rose into the sky. It climbed through the clouds and disappeared into the blue. Katie stood in the meadow, watching until she could no longer see even a glint of light. Then she looked down at the silver device in her hand. She pressed the button. "Desha? Kira, can you hear me?" There was a crackle of static. Then two familiar voices came through, clear as if they were standing right next to her. "We hear you, Katie. We hear you perfectly." Katie smiled through her tears. "Good, because I have so much to tell you. And we have all the time in the universe." Years passed. Desha and Kira grew up to become leaders of their people. They were known throughout the galaxy as the Laughing Empresses because they smiled openly and encouraged their subjects to express their feelings without shame. They reformed the ancient laws. They built schools where Cathari children learned to play and dream and imagine. They opened their borders to visitors from all worlds, especially humans. And in the central hall of the Imperial Palace, displayed in a case of crystal and light, there hung a simple object. It was old and faded, its threads worn thin by time. But everyone who saw it knew what it meant. It was a purple and gold friendship bracelet, woven by hand in an orange tent on a distant planet called Earth. A reminder that the strongest force in the universe is not a weapon or a fleet or an army. It is love. It is friendship. It is the simple courage to share your heart with someone else. And it all started with three girls, a tent, and the sharing of secrets. The end.